The roar of the crowd at Silverstone was deafening, but beneath all that noise, there was a moment that left even the most loyal British fans rubbing their eyes in disbelief, because for the first time ever, they weren't cheering for Lewis Hamilton in silver. They were staring at something they never thought they'd see: Hamilton in scarlet red. The seven-time world champion gliding around his home track in a Ferrari. It almost didn't seem real, but the stopwatch doesn't lie. When the first practice session wrapped up, the leaderboard told the story loud and clear. Hamilton, fastest of all. Norris, second. Verstappen, struggling down in sixth. And suddenly, the entire British Grand Prix paddock was on edge. Because Ferrari didn't just turn up at Silverstone, they turned the whole weekend upside down. The headlines, the expectations, the so-called pecking order, all of it shaken. Nobody saw this coming, but now nobody can ignore it. It's hard to describe just how big this moment really is. Silverstone isn't just another racetrack. It's one of the most famous, most unforgiving circuits on the planet. High-speed corners, brutal on tyres, and the kind of layout that shows exactly which teams have done their homework and which ones are in trouble. For the British fans, this weekend has always been special. A sea of Union Jacks, thousands packed into the grandstands, all eyes on one man, Lewis Hamilton. But this time, he wasn't returning in the silver colours they've known for so long. No, this was different. This was history rewriting itself right in front of them. Hamilton, back on home soil, but for the first time, wrapped in Ferrari red. And the build-up to this moment has been impossible to ignore. Weeks of questions, endless debates. Could Ferrari really give Hamilton a car quick enough? Were the SF-25 upgrades just talk? Could Maranello finally deliver under pressure? Well, FP1 answered that. At least for now. Hamilton, fastest. McLaren, close. And Red Bull, surprisingly, off the pace. And it didn't take long for the shock to hit the paddock. Because when that first practice session got underway, all the talk, all the doubts, all the theories were silenced in just over 1 minute and 26 seconds. Hamilton's quickest lap, a stunning one, 26.892, but it wasn't just the time itself, it was how he did it. His first flying lap was steady, but that second push lap was controlled, calm, clinical. He read the track evolution perfectly, used every inch of the circuit, and squeezed every bit of potential out of that SF-25. And the result, a massive shock. The grandstands erupted as the times came in. Lando Norris was close, right on the edge. But Ferrari had something no one expected: stability. Tyre degradation, which has haunted them all season, looked surprisingly well managed. The rear end of the car, solid through the tricky corners, especially where it mattered most. And the best part, Ferrari didn't show up here with big, flashy upgrades. No headline-grabbing changes, no wild experiments. Just quiet, smart refinements. A few aerodynamic tweaks, small adjustments around the floor, subtle improvements focused on rear stability. But in the hands of Hamilton, that was more than enough. This wasn't hype. This wasn't luck. This was Ferrari playing it smart and fast. And suddenly, the rest of the grid had to sit up and take notice. For months now, everyone has known where Ferrari's biggest weakness lies. It's been the same story: tyre life and rear grip. The SF-25 could be quick over a single lap, but when it came to keeping the tyres alive and the rear of the car planted over long stints, that's where the problems always crept in. But something changed at Silverstone. The low-speed rotation, which has been tricky all year, looked sharper. Through the tight, technical sections like Vale and Lewfield, the car held steady, with none of the rear-end slide we've seen before. The data quietly backed it up. The rear left tyre, always the first to suffer on a demanding circuit like this, showed less degradation compared to Austria. It wasn't dramatic, but it was there. And that alone is a warning sign for the rest of the grid. Behind the scenes, Ferrari's traction mapping has clearly been tweaked, tailored for the rear-limited layout of Silverstone. And for the first time this season, those upgrades didn't just sound good in press conferences or look good on paper, they actually delivered under real pressure. You could see it in the car's behavior. The floor management looked clean, the airflow consistent, the energy recovery system deployment smooth and controlled. It was subtle, but obvious to anyone paying attention. And when you compare that to what Red Bull's dealing with: constant aerobalance struggles, instability through the high-speed corners, it paints a very different picture. For the first time in a long while, Ferrari didn't just look competitive, they looked composed. While Ferrari quietly impressed, over at Red Bull, it was a very different story. You didn't need a team radio to know Verstappen was frustrated. His body language said it all. There's a new flaw on the RB20 this weekend. But instead of solving their problems, it seems to have added a new one. Rear instability is creeping in. And around a place like Silverstone, that's a nightmare. Through the high-speed corners, Copse, Maggots, Beckett's, where Red Bull is usually so dominant, the car just didn't look settled. Verstappen was fighting it more than driving it. Sure, his name popped up later in the session with a better time. But look closer and you'll see the truth. That lap was heavily masked with high ERS deployment, using extra electrical power to hide the car's issues rather than fix them. And that's when the whispers started. Red Bull exposed. Verstappen rattled. The pressure at Silverstone quietly building. Because for the first time in what feels like forever, domination isn't guaranteed, and the cracks are beginning to show. But Ferrari and Red Bull aren't the only ones in this fight. McLaren has quietly built themselves into a serious threat. And at their home Grand Prix, they've shown up sharp and ready. Lando Norris looked calm and composed right from the first lap. The car, running the new C6 compound, looked hooked up, predictable, stable, fast in all the right places. You could tell Norris was locked in. But on the other side of the garage, it was a slightly different story. Oscar Piastri, still adapting, showed some small hesitations, a little uncertainty through the trickier sections, but nothing disastrous. Just the signs of a young driver, still finding the sweet spot on one of the most demanding tracks on the calendar. And in the background, last year's heartbreak still hangs in the air for McLaren. So close to winning on home soil, and it slipped away. But this year, the British Grand Prix feels wide open. Ferrari with pace, Red Bull under pressure, and McLaren right in the mix. And that makes this weekend massive. For Norris, for Hamilton, for Silverstone itself, this is more than just a race. This is personal. Hamilton topping the timesheets in FP1 isn't just about numbers, it's a message. A quiet but powerful reminder to the rest of the paddock that he's still got it. And now, he's got Ferrari backing him. And that does things to people. Over at Mercedes, the mood feels steady, but flat. Russell, once again, found himself outpaced, not just by the McLarens, but by his old teammate in red. And quietly, the name Kimi Antonelli keeps floating around. The young Italian isn't making noise yet, but his steady progress is adding pressure on Russell, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. But it's not just about lap times or upgrades. It's about the atmosphere. You can feel it in the paddock. Confidence fuels performance, doubt cripples it, and right now, Red Bull smells vulnerable. The belief in the grandstands, the quiet conversations between engineers, all of it shifted the moment Ferrari delivered that FP1 shock. The championship picture might still show Verstappen out front, but anyone watching closely can see the grip on his dominance is starting to loosen. What happened in FP1 wasn't just a fluke, it felt like the first real shift in momentum this season. Ferrari's long-run pace, which has been missing all year, suddenly looks real. McLaren keeps creeping closer, steady and consistent, always there to pounce if the opportunity comes. And just like that, the title race feels shaken. The constructors' battle, which looked all but over a few weeks ago, has reignited. And with Ferrari and McLaren both turning up the heat, Silverstone could be the turning point. Because the truth is, one weekend doesn't decide a season. But some weekends, they change everything. And Silverstone 2025 might just be that weekend. Hamilton winning at Silverstone, yeah, we've all seen that before. But doing it in Ferrari red, that's the kind of moment this sport never forgets. It's not just another race weekend anymore, it's history in the making. The fans feel it, the paddock knows it, and the pressure is only building. Qualifying still to come. Race day. That's where the real story unfolds. And after what we saw in FP1, you can bet the drama's only just getting started. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, and buckle in, because the British Grand Prix is far from over.